Hello, my Scorpio friends. This is Kristen Redman, Astrological Intuitive, and today we are going to be talking about what the skies have in store for you in the upcoming year of 2021 and what a year it is going to be for you, especially in terms of finances and home. So let's get right into it with the finances part, eh? Okay, so what we have happening here is the second house rules money, anything you hold a value, and self-worth, okay? Possessions, everything that you hold a value falls into the second house of astrology. And this year there is a ton of energy happening there for you where it hasn't for 30 years, 10 years, quite some time, okay? Now, one of the major things that's going to be happening is the eclipses, okay? Us astrologers, we look to eclipses and we look at someone's chart and we go, okay, the eclipses are happening here, new beginnings are coming. That's what eclipses bring. They bring dramatic shifts, but those are the ultimate new beginnings that are coming because of these dramatic shifts that can be happening in that area. So now for you, this got triggered in 2020, all right? This area got triggered just a little bit, but this is the year that you start to see actual legs grow under what's happening in terms of your financial sector. All right, so one of the major things, though, that comes to the forefront because of these eclipses that started in 2020, and maybe some of the stuff I'm saying now will make more sense, ingrained ideas and ingrained beliefs about money and your self-worth are subject to major change because they come to the surface. Events, people, things that happen, they come to the surface and they make you question, well, am I good enough? Am I worth that? Am I charging enough? Am I doing enough to make money? Am I doing the right thing to make money? All of that falls into that bucket of self-worth and money, right? And these eclipses draw that out, right? They draw that out of you. You recognize and start to realize, holy smokes, I've got some limited beliefs, right? All these things I believed all these years, maybe it's not so necessarily true because it's not proving to be very fruitful for me because I'm always the one left holding the bag here, right? But all of that, you start to realize that these self-limiting beliefs that you've had around money that you acquired in childhood, right, based off of how you observed your parents and how they handled money or lack thereof, right, you're starting to directly link that you've placed that onto yourself and you've assigned that to your self-worth. So you may say, I'll never be rich, but that's okay because my parents were never super rich and they seem to be happy. You are destined for so much more. And these eclipses that started in 2020 brought people and situations to you that made you reassess that and go, wait a second, maybe I do deserve more. Maybe my parents limited themselves because they believed, oh, that's what their parents had, and their parents believed that's what their parents had. I'm going to break that cycle, right? That's what you're saying in 2021. I'm going to break this cycle. What helps you get to that root, right? What helps you get to that root is by assigning what you really, truly value. What are your core values, Scorpio? What do you value more about anything, right? Scorpio, you're one of the deepest signs that the zodiac has, right? And your 8th house that you rule in the world of astrology and on the astrology wheel deals with the financial sector. It is about what we value in life. So when you want to get to the root of why you believe what you believe because of what your parents saw, it's time to really look and reassess what your core values are and then try to figure out, how am I actively living this in my life day to day? So let's say you, when I ask what are one of your core values, you go, honesty, right? Honesty is one of my core values. Well, let's break it down even more. What is it that you want about honesty? What is it that is so important of honesty? Is it because of the clarity? Is it because truth is what is a guiding light to you? Now the next step is, how are you living that? in your day-to-day life. Are you living authentically? Are you being honest? Are you being honest with yourself? Are you being honest with others around you? Really digging into what those core values are, and if you're actively living them in your life, will help you notice to see where the breaks are. Because if there's a break in what you value most, or if you're not aware of what you value most, these eclipses aren't going to bring that into your life, right? Very cut and dry for Scorpio this year. Now, another thing that we have too that's going to be happening, right, is that we have Mercury retrogrades that are going to be happening on that opposing 8th house that you rule, which deals with other people's money and other, finances and such. But it also deals with debt because it is other people's money, right? So having Mercury, the planet of thought and communication, retrograding, retrograde really just means that Mercury, the planet of thought and communication and speed, just stands still out there in the solar system. It's just standing still and it's not going anywhere. All right. So what happens when when the planet of thought goes backwards, we reassess. You're reassessing that 8th house of debt. You are going to be reconfiguring where your money has gone, how much you owe, and how you want to change that moving forward. When that happens, that's also a time where I see it being an opportune period for you to look at different mortgage options, look at different interest rates on credit cards. When that happens, that's going to be at the beginning part of June, okay, when that happens. So just be extra vigilant at that time, because at that same time, what's going to be happening is that there is going to be Jupiter and Saturn working with your house of home and family. Same exact time frame this is going to be happening, okay? So what happens is Jupiter is the planet of luck and opportunity, right? And when it moves into this 4th house, it's only for this tiny little period of time, right? Because right now it's working in your house of finances and it's trying to stable it too, with Saturn right behind it in a 30-year cycle that it hasn't done for years. That's what's trying to change your mindset too. Not only are these eclipses doing it, but this is also happening because Saturn and Jupiter are working together. But for a tiny bit of time, Jupiter leaves Aquarius and it moves into the sign of Pisces. And that's from the end of May until middle of July. And it's going to give you a little bit of a glimpse into what 2022 has in store for you in terms of home and family. Now, what it's going to be doing when Jupiter moves through the house of home and family like that, it's going to bring opportunities for you to get that mortgage, to move, to buy the house that you've been in, to expand your family. That's the other aspect too. Jupiter wants to grow whatever it touches. So when it lands in the house of home and family, it wants to grow your home. It wants to grow your family. That could very well mean renovations. Maybe you're adding on to the house. Like I said beforehand, maybe that gives you the opportunity to finally buy a house. Maybe that gives you the opportunity to start a family and grow a family inside of a home. No matter what, Jupiter, what it's trying to do is expand you beyond those self-limiting beliefs. And we know it's doing a heck of a number right now in that 2nd house of finances for you, right? That's what it's doing for 2021. Then it gives you a brief little view on home and family. So maybe let's say you buy the house, okay? Let's say you buy a house in that summer time frame, okay? The Mercury retrograde at the same time that's happening in your house of debt and such over there is helping you really reassess different interest rates, different lenders, what's going to work best for you and your situation. You do that in the summertime. You get the house. Then in 2022, when Jupiter comes back around for family, maybe that's when you have another baby, huh? Maybe that's when you meet the person that's going to live in this amazing house with you as you've been remodeling it for the remainder of this year, right? Who knows? You just never know. Or maybe those renovations really start in 2022 when Jupiter and Saturn, because Saturn gives the legs and gives the the stability for the next 30 years in your financial house. That's what it's working on in 2021. Maybe 2022, you'll have a better opportunity to have that money to fix up that house, right? It all goes hand in hand. Oh, yes, and I forgot about this too. So the fourth house also has to do just with our general overall security, right? Having something as wonderful and beneficial as Jupiter moving through there is going to ensure that you have this long-term security that you need, right? Right behind it. Works out beautiful. So, yes, so let's think about that too. So, another thing too is that Jupiter is going to dip its toes into that next house, that fifth house. That fourth house is home and family. But Jupiter is going to dip its toes in for a teeny tiny bit for the fifth house, which has to do with happiness and children and things along those lines for you as well too. Having Jupiter expanding this area where it hasn't been for 12 years is going to bring opportunities to have more romance in your life. Have more creativity, because that also deals with creativity and being confident enough in yourself to show your creations to the world as well too. And it also deals with children, so having Jupiter going through there too may also bring a lucky break if you're looking to expand your family or to start a family. Jupiter going in there is going to help in that area too, but it's also good for romance, so that's wonderful as well. Now, one of the other things that we have happening is that Mars is going to be moving through your chart where it hasn't been for a couple of years in certain sectors. One of those sectors is the house of career up there at the 10th house. Having Mars move through that area, what Mars does, Mars is the warrior, right? And it's a fiery planet, and it blasts out any old stagnated energy that is in a house. What it's doing is it's blowing through where it hasn't been since 2019, and it's blowing out that stagnated old stale energy that doesn't work anymore. Not only is it blasting out what is old and doesn't work anymore, it's infusing it with new life, because that's what Mars wants to do, is it wants to bring new energy in. So it's infusing your career house with new energy. That is fantastic, right? Especially if you're wanting to find a new career this year. You can be grateful having Mars bringing that new energy in, right? The only thing with Mars is that it has a shadow side, right? All these planets have a shadow side, right? Same with Jupiter. Even though it's trying to bring all these wonderful, great new things in for your house of home and family, it'll make you want to overdo it. So you may take on a mortgage that's more than you can pay. Be careful for that, right? That's where having that Mercury retrograde is good. It may, when it goes into that house of romance, it may make you want to overdo that a little bit. And then you don't necessarily think of the other people that are involved. So just be careful and cautious with those things, right? Luckily, we got the Mercury retrogrades to help you kind of step back and reassess. Just make sure that you're doing that. That's the only thing with those areas. But the shadow side of Mars, because we're talking about Mars in your career house there, Mars can make you be a little bit impulsive, all right? So if you're not stepping back and looking at that, anger might get a little bit, the impulse might get a little bit more of you, and you might be like, oh, I'm going to just leave this job that I've been doing for 20 years or something, you know, without really thinking it through thoroughly. Just make sure you're thinking these things through and not just jumping based off of inner anger and inner restlessness that pops up. Only thing I'm going to say with that one. But other than that, the other Mercury retrogrades that we have happening, okay, remember we talked about how it was going to be happening in that house of debt in the 8th house. It's also happening in that house of home and family. And it's also happening over here in the house of karmic debt as well, too, right? And just reset, like rest is what that 12th house deals with. These are going to be times in the Mercury retrogrades this year where you're really going to want to slow down in those areas and do a little bit of reassessment, right? A lot of thought process is going to go into those areas. It's okay to take a break, right? Especially when the Mercury retrograde in Pisces happens at the beginning of Pisces. In Aquarius, when that happens, literally jump right out at 2021. That's going to happen in January until the beginning or first week in February is when that first Mercury retrograde hits. That's going to be in that house of rust and karmic debt. You're going to be looking back to that, okay? You're going to be able to go and say, all right, I need to take a break from talking with people. I need to focus on me. That's okay. That's absolutely okay. And it's actually better because when you start out the new year with that, really resting, reassessing, thinking about the things that you need to, the karmic ties with people that you need to sever so you can move forward, that's what it gives you the opportunity to do. And that's good. So I highly advise taking advantage of that. Okay, please do. Now, we're going to look at specific birthdays for Scorpio right now. Now, this is very generic, just like everything I just did was a very generic Scorpio horoscope for this year, okay? If you want to dig further into your specific birth chart and how the planets are impacting that and making windows of opportunity pop up for you this year, I highly recommend getting a reading. I have a link below. If you look there, click on that. You'll get in contact with me. We can set up a reading for you. We can do it by Skype or FaceTime or Zoom. You can look at me like this and we'll talk to each other and I can help you better understand the roadmap that's you and what's happening for you moving forward specifically. But we will look at certain birthdays for Scorpios and what energy is working with you with that. So if your birthday falls between October 26th and November 23rd, so basically all Scorpios for the most part, Jupiter out there, that planet that expands thing, is going to be working against your sun. So you're going to be one of those people that's going to want to be on the lookout that you're not overdoing, right? Overcommitting yourself to too much of a mortgage, overcommitting yourself to a person because you're just so excited, overindulging in general, right? But anyway, but that's the shadow side of it. So just be extra cautious, all Scorpios. Please just be extra cautious of those things. But what the other side of Jupiter, what it's trying to do is really stretch you outside of your comfort zone. Really push you and stretch your old self-limiting beliefs. Remember, that was the number one thing that we were talking about earlier, that you stay limited because of pre-programmed ideas from childhood. Jupiter is going to be pushing you outside of that big time this year. Listen to what it's showing you and telling you, because there's plenty of opportunities that you can focus on that come to the surface if you just tell yourself, I am good enough to have this, right? Tell yourself that, because you are, right? If your birthday falls between October 26th and November 7th, Saturn is going to be squaring your sun. So some additional responsibilities will probably be placed onto you this year, especially if you're taking on a mortgage, or if you're adding on to your house, or you're starting a new job, or you're adding another kid to the mix. Those are going to be things that obviously add responsibilities to you. But with responsibilities also come designating who those responsibilities belong to, right? So it's very important for you to set healthy and clear boundaries with yourself and with others this year to say, look, I am not responsible for your mess. I'm not responsible for your job. That's your responsibility. I'm drawing a line in the sand, and that does not belong to me. Super vital for those of you that are in this, okay? Because with that, when you set those healthy boundaries, that may be something that's very new to you. And that is going to send you into this new area that Saturn loves, maturity. A new level of maturity that you haven't seen for 30 years, mind you, okay? Now, if your birthday falls between November 12th and November 17th, we've got Dreamy Neptune working with you this year. Now, one of the things that Neptune wants you to do is certainly relinquish those old beliefs. It's very vital for you to just surrender to the energies that are happening around, all right? Whether it's COVID restrictions that have got you all upset and feeling restless or what have you, the more that you can surrender and release your fears and your worries into the universe, the better off you're going to be in 2021, okay? Also, you are going to benefit tremendously from accessing greater realms of your own spirituality and exploring your spirituality and what that means to you. If you have trouble accessing your spirituality, I tell you what, I'll give you a hint. It's through your creativity. Do something that brings out your creativity, right? And your inner child, and that will immediately connect you with the energy of, and the essence of God and the spirituality that goes with that divine connection. So, Scorpios, that is your horoscope for 2021. I wish you all a wonderful, prosperous, abundant, and most of all, healthy new year. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.